Insidethepodwlou here. Like we start every podcast with a Bible verse, and today's verse led us to Psalms 51, verse 10 through 11. And the word of God states, "Create in me a clean heart, O God, renew a loyal spirit within me. Do not banish from me your presence, and don't take your Holy Spirit from me." Psalms 51, verse 10 through 11. And with that being said, I'm with
Paul Valenzuela.
All right. Well, thank you, sir, for coming on, Coach. We really appreciate it. We'll kind of jump right into it, right? We'll say how we the power of social media, right?
Exactly.
You had messaged me one day on TikTok, and I think you brought up my grandfather.
Right. Yes.
R.I.P. to my grandfather. His name was Chuco, Louis Gonzalez.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you're like, "Oh, is that your dad?" And I was like, "No, it's my grandpa." And then we kind of started talking, and you're like, "Oh, do you know this person?" "Yeah, I know this person." And then I think you asked me, like, "Did you ever play sports?" I was like, "Yeah." And I played under baseball, Coach Clark, Alan Clark.
Right.
And then basketball, Coach Rossetti, right?
Mm-hmm. Know him too.
And then Coach Bautista, who's at he's at the district now.
Yeah. Okay.
And then Coach Arredondo, Carlos Arredondo. And then I think, let me see.
Wrestling. Yeah.
Coach Vallejo, Louis Vallejo. So there's a lot of coaches out there. If I miss some people, I apologize, right? But we'll kind of jump right into, Coach. Like you've been coaching for about, I think you told me about 45 years.
45 years or plus.
Yeah. So how did that get into, kind of break it down? How did that start? What year did you start coaching?
Back in 1979 over in Mendota, they started a T-ball program. And Robert Martinez and what was his name? Oh my God, Joe Ramirez. It asked me if I want to coach T-ball. Sure, little 17-year-old kid coaching T-ball.
Yeah.
And I started coaching. I started loving it. We had a league, and then we started playing tournaments. We went to San Joaquin for a tournament. We went to Tranquility for tournaments. That was pretty cool for T-ball.
Yeah.
I mean, at that age, to play T-ball. So 1979 is my first coaching gig.
So you've always had kind of patience.
Yes,
right?
You have to have patience.
With T-ball.
Yeah, T-ball.
I just finished my daughter's last year, right? At 4 through 6 years old, right? And like you said, the attention span is like, what, 15 seconds?
Exactly.
30 seconds.
You have to tell them about 20 times one sentence and they'll understand it.
Yeah. Okay, so you go from T-ball, 79, and what, kind of just break it down to us,
Yeah, then I started coaching in a Little League, Little League in Mendota, Had my brothers. I coached on my brothers, coached my nephew, Chad Patlin. I coached, anybody in my family, I coached them all. I coached my nephews, And I just stayed with that for quite a while, from Little League to Little League All-Stars, things like that. And after I got done with that, then I went to next levels. I started doing Babe Ruth. Then I started doing, played a lot of softball.
Mm-hmm.
Softball and Farwell, we had some pretty good teams back then.
Yeah, you were saying that.
Yeah. And then then I got into, baseball, Mendota baseball. Then I also got to high school softball. And I just forget so many years, how many years
I've been coaching. We'll try our hardest to break it down. Watch 45 years of it.
Yeah, like I said, I had my stints in Tranquility, coached there a couple of years. I coached at Sound King Memorial during the COVID year. And Mendota, in between softball and baseball, oh my gosh, that's a lot of years right there. And if I was coaching high school, I was coaching on the Mendota programs.
Okay.
The Little League, programs. So that's how many years I've been doing it.
Yeah, 45. That's all,
And Cobra football.
In Cobra football. And then now you're back in Cobra football.
Oh, yeah. I'm watching my grandson. Hopefully, maybe I'll try to coach next year, get back into football.
Yeah.
I was talking to Beto Mejia. I go, "Hey, man, talk to Justin Silva to get you in." I said, "I'll tell you what, I'll get in next year.
Yeah.
Let this season go, and then I'll get into
Is this his first year?
It's his first year.
Okay.
Yeah, so.
How does that make you feel? Like kind of thinking about it all the years and watching everyone, and now you're gonna, now you're grandpa.
Yeah, I'm grandpa.
Now you're not, it's a different role, right? When we go from being dad and, to grandpa, right?
Probably be a little more lenient with him, but in a different tone.
Yeah.
I'm going to talk instead of yelling at him, I'm probably going to talk to him.
Okay.
Why did you do that? You can't do this. Because, his first game, he was fighting 3 times, kicking people, punching people. And that's a little 6-year-old.
Yeah.
But you know what? I don't mind. I like that tensity that he has, but he has to control it. And we're going to talk about that. At that level, you want the mental aspect of toughness, and he has it, no doubt. But I'm going to work with him on that.
Okay. What do you think he gets that toughness from? Do you think he gets it from mom or dad?
Oh man, it gets from both.
Okay.
Yeah, it gets from both.
That's a veteran answer right there from Coach.
Yeah, that's a safe one too.
Yeah.
And then he has grandma and grandpa.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Yeah, we're going to get on them. What they don't do, we're going to fix it.
Yeah,
that's just us.
That's amazing. I mean, it's kind of wild, and we talked a little bit about it, right? I was talking about my grandparents, And unfortunately, like, my grandfather, he ended up passing when I was a sophomore. But same thing. I thought, the way you talk about juju is the way I think my grandfather talked about
Hmm.
me, and he always tried to do with me what, he didn't do with his son, right?
Right.
And so sports kind of coming up, right? And I think I was just remember I was trying to tell you, I was such a just little spoiled brat that I never took the coaching or the advice,
Right.
because he would always try to tell me, because he was a baseball guy.
Right.
Remember I was
Yeah.
trying to tell you, like, I'd
Yeah.
be Juju's age.
Right.
And he'd sit me down and break down the game to me, like, hey, this is what this, and this is this. And so I always had that mind going in, right? But I'm gonna be honest, like, and this is for a lot of athletes out there too, and we'll talk about this as we go in,
Right.
but I didn't have the work ethic,
Right.
right? And the talent was there, I believe. I'm not saying I was gonna go pro or anything, but the talent was there, but the work ethic was not.
Right.
Kind of, you going in your years of coaching, coach. I had kind of mentioned something earlier, and you're like, oh, no, 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 no. But do you see the difference? I mean, has it really changed drastically from '79 to today's era?
Oh yeah, yes. See, back in the days, we had nothing. We didn't have the phones, we didn't have the iPads. The gaming, all that stuff. What we had was go play the catch out there in the streets.
Yeah.
I remember back in the days, we on every Saturday we would play tackle football. Bunch of guys get together. We'll play like West Side against West Side, East Side against East Side.
Yeah.
Mendota. As a matter of fact, I used to have a travel team for tackle football.
Really?
We would come down there and play far ball. Right at the
Wait,
school.
do you remember the year or no?
Oh my gosh! See, that's what I'm saying. It's
Next time, okay.
Yeah.
I know for sure 45 years of coaching.
yeah,
Think of this as, I tell everybody, think of this as part one, right?
right.
We'll definitely do a part two. Maybe
Okay.
when we watch the podcast, we do some notes, go over stuff
Right.
that we can bring in and touch on. Because I did not know that they had a tackling football league.
Yeah.
So kind of like break that down. So you would come play different towns, or?
Yeah, we would play like Madera.
Okay.
Then I used to get guys together and load them in my back of my green Chevy pickup.
Okay.
We'll come over here to Farball, play them a game. We'll play a lot of games in which was called Washington School.
Okay.
We had Sanger. A team came out of Sanger, played us. Man, it was just just fun.
Yeah.
Playing football. But I'm talking about knocking some heads off football.
Yeah.
Back in the days.
Not this flag football or touch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we started doing. And nobody believes this, but we started this the Turkey Bowl.
Oh, okay.
Every Thanksgiving we will get together and play tackle football, and it was called the Turkey Bowl.
Yeah, yeah. I think they still do it today.
Yeah, they still do it today. Yeah,
I think they do it at the old McCabe
right.
Junior
Yeah,
High.
yeah.
And then now it's like a luxury out there.
Yeah.
Because they just did a whole new field. And, I don't know if hopefully the school allows them to still do the Turkey Bowl.
I don't think so. I think they're getting pretty strict on that.
Yeah.
Because it's all artificial turf now.
Yeah, no, I saw that.
They're beautiful now.
There's a lot of construction going on in Mendota too,
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
I mean, I grew up there. My heart's in Mendota. Like I
Right.
told you, it's always gonna be. And but when I go out there now, I'm like, man, I can't. This construction is bad.
Right.
Not saying that Farball, we're doing construction here too, but I don't really have to travel here in Farball as far as like Mendota. You're going, you're in your car.
Yeah,
you're gonna go
exactly.
somewhere, and especially like going towards my parents' house, it's almost like a nightmare right now to get over there.
Right,
Get
yeah.
in. But
It's that turnabout they're doing right there.
Yes.
It's in a turnabout.
yeah, no. Okay. Well, so then we'll kind of go into it a little bit. Like, obviously, you coaching different sports, kind of give us a little bit of the, you talked a little bit about it, but what sports have you coached, coach, like besides softball? Because right now are you the softball coach right now?
Yes, I'm not softball coach right now.
The head varsity.
The head varsity
Okay.
coach. Yes.
But kind of break it down. I know you kind of, what other sports have you coached as far as?
Like I said, Cobra football.
Cobra
I was
football.
down there for about when my son was playing Raymond,
Okay.
and Edgar Segura. I think you remember them.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, those kids. We were pretty tough with those kids back in the
Mm-hmm.
days. I mean, we used to yell at them all the time, and we gave them that toughness.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I was 3 years right there in junior Cobras, and then from there I started coaching softball. Like I said, I did softball a lot of years, and I also coached baseball. But I coached baseball first because my son, my brothers, and then when my daughters, then I jumped to them coaching. I think softball maybe over 20 something years, maybe, and I think I coached high school baseball maybe 10, and as an assistant coach because of my job.
Yeah.
I couldn't be a head coach. But I did as assistant coach.
And then you won a couple. I mean, I don't know. We talked about it off camera, but you had a couple of Valley titles.
Yes, I coached with Tito Gomez. We won back-to-back Valley titles, and then 2017 head coach for softball. We won a Valley title, first ever Valley titles. And the teams I've coached, I've been to 5 Valley championships. I also coached here in Farball.
Okay.
Yeah, we lost that game to Fowler. Oh, that was heartbreaking. We lost the Valley title.
How did that feel, kind of being a diehard Mendodian, with that, Aztec pride in you coming to Fireball?
Back then I was coaching JVs for 2 years, and then they hired some new coaches, and I guess they didn't know nothing about me, and they weren't going to tell me what they're going to do with me. Was I going to be able to still be a JV coach, or was going to help them out coaching varsity? And they never gave me an answer, and I was kind of worried. So I talked to my buddy Johnny Garcia, and he said, "Hey, Paul, man, you looking to be a coach?" Yeah, well, come to Fireball. I said, all right. So he spoke with the Marshall, I think Tom Marshall, and Tom Marshall gave me an interview, and right there, I enjoyed it.
Yeah,
started coaching the Farber kid. Farber has some great kids. Don't get me wrong, man.
Yeah, no, for
I'm
sure.
a Mendota boy, but I love coaching these kids in Farber. Very, very respectful.
Yeah,
I would never say anything bad about Farber kids here, and a lot of my friends are here from Fireball. I have relatives here, but I got a lot of buddies here in Fireball,
and that's how I feel. Like, I grew up in Mendota,
right?
But then I've been in Fireball for, I want to say, now that I'm 37, it's kind of been, I've been in Fireball longer than I was in Mendota now, I think.
Oh, yeah.
Because I was there till I was 18, 19. So about equal. It's about equal right now, right?
Yeah.
So same. The love is different because I have built friends here now. And,
right.
Except my little boy's a sophomore, right? And so that little sophomore class, coaching them, watching them come up. So, my heart's in both places. But growing up, I grew up in Mendota. So I can really relate to the coaching, right? Because you get coached, and that's why I want to bring that in now.
Oh, there's different styles.
It's different styles,
You're
right? So I'm going to tell you what and I don't mean to bash anybody or anything or put anybody on, but I went one day and we brought on Coach Moreno, right?
Right.
And he was from Fresno City Wrestling, and he was from Fireball originally. And we went out there one day and we're watching the practice, and some of the kids come up to him and they call him George,
right?
And for me, that was like, I know that maybe I'm a little more old school. Do you see that kind of like? When I tell you about the changes, are you okay with one of your kids calling you Paul?
If they're calling me Paul, that shows no respect as a coach. I feel like I deserve to be called coach. When I'm coaching all these years, you just don't talk about softball or baseball. I always bring about life. You work hard, good things will come. You come to practice, it'll pay off. It's the same thing as a job. You miss practice, you probably are going to sit the bench. You miss work, you don't get paid. What if you have kids? Who's going to put milk on the table? You got to go to work every day. So I use sports as their future.
Yes.
I told them it's a rough world out there.
Yes.
And nowadays, these poor kids, man, there's a lot of stuff going on with them now. I mean, the kids are graduating as a senior college. I mean, let's let these kids be kids first.
Yeah.
And I see them overwhelmed with so many things nowadays. Some of them are playing 2 sports. 3 sports. I mean, what's going on here?
As a coach, kind of like, do you agree with that style of when a kid's only a 1-sport athlete?
You're gonna get that God-gift talent person. Like I could give you a good example, like Edgar Segura.
Yes.
I mean, I've seen that kid played everything.
Yeah.
I watched him in baseball. Watched him in football. He was a hell of a wrestler. Back in the days, a person named Vince Gonzalez. He's out of Mendota. He went to Tranquility, and he was a state leading rusher coming out of Mendota.
Okay.
And he was a great athlete too. See, those kind of God-gift people, diamonds in the rough, could play maybe 2 sports, 3 sports, which I understand. But there's some that, no, you need to focus on this one sport to get you better here because, they're going to stay at a level. They're never going to peak. That's the only, grudge I have against that.
Yeah. I could say because we have, my buddy, and I'm going to shout him out, Adam Placencia, Mario Placencia's son, he just signed with UC San Diego.
Oh, great.
And I remember he was, I feel like, a stud in every sport. But I think Dad at the time realized, like, no, we got to really go all in on this because this can possibly get him a scholarship.
Exactly.
And then look, the hard work paid off.
Right.
He's going to go to UC San Diego, and he came on the podcast. Hopefully we have him back on. And it's kind of cool to see because, you coaching, you probably seen, I mean, I don't know how many athletes of yours are that you've coached or went on to the next level.
Right.
I know, Coach, it's kind of hard to go over the years, but can you think of anyone off top that went to the next level and started playing?
Cyril Sanchez, my center fielder, she went to play college ball. Valencia, Mario's sister.
Oh, yeah.
She went to play some college ball. Cassie Cervantes, my shortstop, played college ball. I mean, there's more out there.
Yeah, and
I just
it's kind of good to see
my
because
daughters, both of them played college ball.
oh yeah. Okay,
played
where
college
they
ball.
went to what, West Hills?
Well, that's a long story there.
Oh, okay. We could do that for part 2.
What I did, I sent them to COS. I hooked them up with COS
Okay.
College.
Yeah.
Okay, and they went up there for 1 week, and
Oh.
they wanted to come home. And
Mhm.
me, as a father, went to go get them, and they wound up going to West Hills.
Okay.
You know, I tried to get them to the next level.
Yeah.
Hey, COS is better. You're out there, but no, they wanted to come.
COS is in Visalia, right?
Visalia,
Yeah.
correct.
And it's funny because we just had Coach Mike Daniel on the other day.
Okay, Mike.
And he talked about being in Visalia for 5 years,
Yeah.
you know, leaving, being homesick, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm going to be honest, I didn't really leave. You know, I left Mendota, but I came to Farball.
Right,
I mean,
yeah.
it's not, you know, it's still familiar, right? I think if you were to kind of go somewhere further, I think homesick, you know, you're going to get homesick,
get
right?
homesick.
And I'm going to touch on real fast, like kind of go back into the Bible, right? I look at it like I've been using this analogy lately when I talk to people of Exodus, right? And so when the Israelites, you know, Moses brings them out of slavery from Egypt,
Right.
they're so used to, they want to run back because they're so
Mhm.
used to, I mean, in the sense that when we come off and we get older and we venture out, you know, we're so used to familiar, you know, we want to be
Right.
familiar. And, you know, you being dad, obviously you're going to be tough as a coach,
Right.
right? But kind of, can you let us know the difference between dad and coach? I know we talked about a little bit off camera, right? But you coaching your kids, pretty much all your kids, how was that transition from being coach to being dad? Like, how, you know, and I know I'm pretty sure your oldest probably to your youngest got
Right.
the worst, and your youngest probably by then you probably learned.
Yes. When I was coaching my son on Bombis, you know, I was pretty hard on him because back in the days, old school. You know, my
Yes.
son on Bombis, he was taught old school.
Yeah.
You know, not showing him to practice. You know, I would work on drills with him, things like that. And when he misses practice, he won't play.
Mm-hmm.
I remember we had an incident at an All-Star game where, you know, my son didn't show the practice. He was on the bench. His mom came down, was asking him, hey, how come you're not playing? I said, because he missed practice, you know. And it kind of like everybody looked like, wow, he benched his son, you know. But hey, you know, what's good for the goose is good for the gander.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, and you know, when you coach your son, you're always gonna have that bullseye. If your son's starting, why is he starting? Oh, coach your son, coach your son.
Yes.
But my other coach, Angel Vallejo, he goes, you know what? Don't worry about it, ball, because who's going to beat him out anyway? And I just kind of thought about it. Goes, yeah, you know what? You're right. Who is going to beat him out in shortstop? He's a heck of a shortstop. So that's how it went.
But my specific question specifically is like, obviously you being a tough coach, older
Right.
coach, right? How were you able to change from coach to dad? Like when remember we're talking about being on the field and then kind of being at home, right?
You have to turn up that button,
Yeah.
that coaching button, you know, when you get home. Because like I said, I learned with my first son, I would carry it home.
Yes.
Why didn't you make that play? Why didn't you do this? And what it does, it's going to confuse the kid.
Mhm.
You know, he's going to say, well, are you my dad? Are you my coach?
Mm.
And then it'll carry back and forth. It'll carry from the house and it'll carry back to the field.
Mm-hmm.
And there's two sides, you know, fence.
Yeah.
Coaching and dad. You know, you're going to be more tougher here, but as a dad, you're going to, you know, talk more with love with them.
Yes.
You know, it's just two different worlds.
And obviously, boy and a girl is so different.
Yeah,
right.
yes.
And I'm learning that right
they,
now.
They cry more when you yell at them.
The girls.
Yeah, the girls cry more when you yell at them.
Because I'm learning right now. Obviously, I had my boy, and I've been tough on him.
Yeah.
Right. And I told you I'm learning, and so I kind of told you I don't really want to coach no more. I want to be dad because I feel like it's too confusing to them. Because I was just like you. I'd come home and hey, you missed this, or you didn't do this, and why didn't we do this? And same thing, like, oh, you're still coaching me. You know, I'm like,
what I've learned, you know, if you don't say nothing when you go home or pick them up from practice, they're going to ask you. They're going to tell you, hey, Dad, how did I do? So you don't have to ask them nothing. They're going to tell you.
Okay.
You just maybe not the same day, but maybe the next day they will. I've learned that.
Okay.
Hey, Dad, what did I do wrong? Say that's when you be your, you know,
okay,
the dad part.
Got it.
But
well, everyone out there, you're helping us all out.
Yeah,
because you know
exactly.
you got. I feel like my classes we're in our mid 30s to late 30s now, so we're either knowing that now or we're getting to the point where it's time to know that, you know, because our boys are, you know, in high school now, so you kind of can do certain things to a certain point, right?
Exactly.
When do you let go, right? And that was the thing for me is like, it's time to let go. He's in high school. You got to just worry about him. Hopefully, you taught him everything you could up until a certain point, and he's there with the high school coaches now, right?
Exactly.
And he's either gonna, you don't want to say sink or swim because you want to still be there, right, and help out the best that you can, but you got to let the coaches take over now, right? And then at that point, you know, hopefully, Mendoza's really blessed to have 45 years of experience. You know, they have I know the Clark's boys have taken over Alan Clark, but he's out there still helping. You know, he has a lot of experience.
Elijah on them,
and then like Tony Rojas and them could lean on you, right? Of the experience, because I mean, I know that they're learning their stuff, but we'll talk a little bit about the Valley Championship. You guys are 3 outs away,
3 outs
getting
away.
their Valley title, right?
Yeah,
and I want to say like in that aspect, it could be good and bad. Because the kids, they got a little glimpse and taste of it. Same thing with coaching, right? And I feel like instead of kind of being that, 3 outs away, you could have done this, you could have done, we come Monday night quarterback all you want,
That's what's going to happen. Would have, should have, could have,
But it's about the experience, right, Coach?
Exactly.
I mean, you learn from the mistakes. You learn from, everything. And at the end of the day, as much as 45 years and compared to whatever, 3, 4, 5 years, like you learn, right?
Right,
and
exactly.
You said you've been to it 5 times, right? And you won what? Twice, 3 times?
3 times, 3 Valley champions.
3 out of 5, right? So I mean, that's still most people consider that great.
There's a lot of schools that haven't been to one.
Yeah, and it's very hard. But I wanted to touch on that because it's about kind of battling that adversity, right? You kind of get to a certain point. It's about how you're going to respond, the next year. And do you see like, in this day of era, do you feel like we just said it, the kids are a little bit softer?
Yes,
they're a little bit softer. Like confidence is it hard for them to gain confidence now, or do you feel like?
Well, it's just the way you coach the kid, the way you talk to the kid. If they know that you know stuff, they're going to respect you more. Kids want to be taught. Yes. They want to be yelled at. You know what I mean? They want that kind of guidance. If you give them that guidance, then you're going the right step.
Yeah, no, I believe that as well. And like you said, because coaching the Mendota kids and the Farball kids, nothing bad. Like I said, Farball is great. I just think with Mendota, they're coached a little bit tougher.
So the mental
kids are a little bit tougher.
Yeah, I see it.
Right. And when we play, like I would tell our kids, like, hey, you're going to be in for a dogfight today. Like these kids you're the rival. Like they're coming to take your house. They're coming to take, so either you got to embrace it or we're going to have to, when we go over stuff, this is what we tell you when you have to have. They're coming to get you guys, especially that Mendota rivalry.
Right. There's a coach over there, my buddy, my compa, Jesse Reyes out of Kerman, and he had made a comment to me one time, man. He goes, yeah, man, when he used to play as, popcorn or football, he goes, man, you're going to play Mendota? You guys better put your shin straps on. Mm-hmm. And I kind of like, what? He goes, yeah, you guys come and hit, Mendota kids, they're not scared to hit.
Yeah, no, they're not.
And it's that old school stuff, Alan Clark's old school now.
Yes.
My buddy Jesse Ray is old school. All these other, and I'm glad. What makes me feel so good? The ones I used to coach back in the days, they're coaching. Beto Mejia, I remember him back in the days.
Yes.
And I left. And he has that tensity, I used to have at his age.
Yeah.
I love it, man.
Yeah.
He goes, Coach Paul, what do you think, man? Hey, get him pissed off, man. Give him that mental aspect. And he can be okay.
And it's kind of crazy because that mental aspect, really, you can take it with you in your life.
Right. Exactly.
Me working in the county jail, like I said, for 10 plus years, I'd go in there sometimes and like, their inmates are not the nicest in the begening.
Right.
One thing I've learned is respect is not given, it's earned.
It's earned.
And so when you're going through that earning process, there's a lot of, you got to have some thick skin, but it comes with, I think, that mental toughness. I already got my ASS chewed by my coach growing up, so I kind of know what it's like to take a little chewing here and there, right?
And the old school parents, the one that's been taught like that, if they see their kids getting chewed out or yelled by a coach, they're going to kick back and
no,
you deserved it.
Give it to them.
But then you have the new age now. Hey, what are you doing yelling at my kid?
Yes.
You're going to get those kind of parents.
So thank you for jumping on that. I'm going to ask you that now. So how do you go into now being a coach and you got that parent that's like, don't talk to my kid that way? How do you respond? Or what have you learned?
Honestly, I don't have the problem. Like I said, Mendota's a kind of different breed.
Yes.
And I still do it. I'm not going to change.
Yeah.
I'm going to coach the way I'm going to coach. I mean, they know the way I am, and maybe the word's been out with their friends, but I'm not going to change. Why? Why am I going to change for a parent?
Yeah.
You just got to do what you got to do.
Have you had instances where it's like parents have given you issues or?
No, not really. It was like minor things. I mean, I'm talking about Little League,
Yeah.
This one kid, he was a big kid, and they gave us socks, and I gave him kind of like a short socks. The mom took him out of the game. Poor kid was crying, because the socks weren't long enough. So the mother took him out. Well, the mother came in because she talked to one of her brothers. Hey, man, that's Paul Valenzuela. He's a hell of a coach. She came back and apologized. I would never interfere with, so-and-so.
Well, that's always cool. Once again, that's back earning your respect.
Yeah.
You're not giving just, but and in this sense, 45 years can pretty much speak for itself, right? I've been coaching for this long, and the people eventually are going to be like, okay, well, he knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
Because one thing
And I still ask other coaches, hey, what about this? What about that?
and that's beautiful.
You still want to learn.
You always got to learn. Yeah.
You still want to learn.
And the one thing I want to give you kind of your flowers on, coach, is like you said it. I mean, out there, if kids ever need, you never charge for hitting lessons, right?
Never charge, no.
And so if anyone's ever out there, I can tell you right now, I'm going to utilize you because
no problem.
my little boy, I think baseball gets really fun when you can hit.
Exactly.
Right? You're out there and you're going through the motions, right? Taking the chewings or whatever the case may be, running because whatever you're late or they're late. Because remember, it's a team aspect, team sport. I tell my son, you'll love it when you can hit. Trust me.
A bit of confidence in life too.
Confidence, And I'm gonna be honest. The one thing I think as a coach, when I'd hammer, I think it's like I was affecting the confidence. And I didn't see it on my end because my wife would talk to me like, I think you were a little too rough on him. But that's the mother in there. I'm like, no, you're just being, his mom. And then I really sat back and looked at him like, okay, maybe I am being a little rough, right? And then so now, like I told you, for me, that's why I asked you that question. It was hard for me to turn it off and on the coaching aspect because once you're in it, like I said, I think with the other kids, I didn't go as hard as with my boy because I know that those are not my kids, but I would still go hard on them. But obviously, you're gonna go a little harder on your own, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And so, you offer the hitting lessons, right? So that's something that if out there and you're going through softball, baseball, and your kid's having a little bit of difficulties, coaches, not saying that I'm not trying to throw you out there where you're going to flood it, but just know that the services are there, right? And that's something that's good to know because
Johnny Garcia, I used to work with his kids a lot. He used to bring them over here. I would come over here for hitting lessons. My buddy, and work with his kids,
and that's always good. Like I said, and I know you said you don't charge, so that's always not saying. I think when people do offer, I'm gonna be honest with me. If I start seeing the results, I'm gonna want to keep you happy.
And you know what my payment is? Like you said, the results.
Yes.
That's how many hits you get too.
There you go.
There's my payments.
Yeah.
If they shine, I shine.
That's amazing.
That's me right there. I want to see their goals to be a heck of a hitters, and that's all right.
Yeah. And so I'm gonna kind of jump into completely something different. We talked a little bit about you a little bit, and kind of so just your oldest Bombis, right?
Right.
So R.I.P. to him, right? We just had Cassandra Sanchez and her mother come on, and they're kind of talking a little bit about the addiction part.
Right.
I'm gonna tell you as a father and as a coach, right? How did that whole thing transpire with you? Because obviously your son passing, it was through kind of like more of an addiction, right?
Yes. Coming in a shock, when he shot kid, and it was pretty shocking that day, and he loved coaching.
Yeah.
That's one thing about my son. He loved coaching. We would always call each other about the game, things like that. Hey, Dad, what about this? Hey, Dad, what about this? He was trying to get me to go to Kerman to coach baseball.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, I remember I was right there in me and Ed's Pizza, him and oh my gosh, I forgot the head coach name. Oh my gosh, how embarrassing. Well, anyway,
okay.
we were there when they had a hat there. They had some pizza there and beer mug there. And hey, come to Kerman. I said, oh man, I don't know, man, if I could wear red, man.
Yeah.
And I'm waiting for the job in Mendota, so they called me up and told me about the job, and so I took Mendota job. When my son, I never knew that he had an alcohol problem, liquor. I've never, he would come over to the house with barbecuing, things like that, drink a beer or so, but I never knew he had an alcohol liquor problem, and I guess that was addiction because. He totally changed. You couldn't talk to him, things like that. And
was it something that because obviously
he hit it pretty good for me.
I would say you knew your son,
right?
And you coaching him, being around them, right? Did you realize it when it got kind of really serious, or did you kind of notice? When did you kind of notice that it was a problem?
I guess it was with my ex, his mom. I guess he was living there and she was having a problem with him. So I had him come down to the house.
Okay.
And, you know what, go stay with us. So he stayed with us, and I had him do some chores like, help paint the house, things like that. And, and I never thought he was drinking there. But the whole time he was drinking there. And me and my wife, we never caught it. He would always want to go to the store, go get coffee. Where we had a coffee right here. But what he was doing, he was putting liquor in the coffee. And I never knew that. And I've learned with people with addiction, they're always gonna lie. They're always gonna lie, and I learned you never argue with them because you're never going to solve nothing with him. But like I said, that's the worst nightmare, to lose your son.
Yes.
And the way, he was killed, it's pretty bad. But like I said, the man upstairs has a reason. Who knows? Maybe he could have been driving and killed another family.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, there's always reason why. And and I always ask God why, but the time will come,
Yeah.
when I'll meet my son, I ask God why did you take my son? But there's no reason why. And we're here on earth as a present,
Yes.
and people got to realize we're going to live, we're going to die.
Mm-hmm.
End of story, man.
Yeah.
I'm going to lose people and things like that. But, like I always tell everybody, store your treasures in heaven. All your memories are right that you do, your free will, that what God gives you guys, the free will,
Yeah.
to do, do or do not. But I try, and me coaching, that's my, do my treasures in heaven.
Yes.
I love my family. They all live with me. All my family,
Yeah.
which
It's always a blessing.
yeah, it's a blessing. And then when they move out, it's kind of sad. My
Yeah.
daughter just moved out. I had a little tear coming home. But anyway, Paulette.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, she moved.
And that's your youngest, right?
Yeah, that's my girl. The girl. Yeah. When she moved out, it kind of but that's just part of being a dad.
Yeah, no, for sure. And then, like I said, all the questions are always pre-thing, so I don't
Right.
think I just kind of threw that at them. Like,
No.
we're gonna, and
Yeah.
but the reason I asked too is because that the next question is like, what is your relationship like with the Lord? Now that obviously, kind of dealing with that, but I mean, it sounds good, but just
Yeah.
kind of let us know, like, has that brought you closer? Has that made you more curious?
You know what? Curious. Why? But when things go bad in life, we always blame God.
Yes.
I don't, and I don't know why. Back in my younger days, I did my first communion. I did recollection. I did all of that stuff. I was pretty good in the church. And I haven't gone to church in a while.
Yeah.
But I still with the Lord. I have a Bible next to me. Once in a while I read it. But God's always going to be with me.
Yeah.
The Holy Spirit. I'm never going to turn away from God.
Yeah.
And it just that just learn to forgive.
Yeah.
Forgive. That person that shoot my son. And like I said, there's always reason why. And we don't know.
Mhm.
We don't know, and I just gotta wait. My time passes on, and when I see the man upstairs, and hey, the worst nightmare is when a parent loses their own kid.
Yes.
I'm sorry. I've spoken with a lot of parents that lost their kids, through suicide, things like that. And when you see people on the streets and they, hey, I'm sorry about your so and so, you don't feel it.
Mhm.
But when you talk with a person that lost somebody
Mhm.
and they're hugging you, it's weird. You feel it. You feel their pain.
Yeah.
And I've talked to a couple of people about that, and you could actually have a good conversation with them.
Yeah, no, well, like I said, I'm going to tie in my favorite verse, Coach. Isaiah 60:22. So when the time is right, the Lord, will make it happen. So it comes down to his timing. And like I kind of had shared with you prior, right?
Right.
I'm new to this, and I feel like every podcast is for a reason,
Right.
You messaged me, when I took it in,
Because
and
your grandpa.
yeah, no, and I meant like, well, to get you on the
Right.
podcast, right? And it's like as we kind of go, I always ask God, like, well, what do I say, or what are we going
Right.
to talk about, right? And in this sense, I look at it like exactly what you said. Like, I don't know, and I loved how you said we cherish our stuff up in heaven.
Right.
Everything here is materialistic,
Exactly.
and the first thing that you did say is forgiveness. We have to to forgive ourselves.
Right.
One, we have to love ourselves, because how are we going to forgive others or love others when we can't
Exactly.
even do it to ourselves, right? So, and in time, like you said it perfectly, it's not our time, it's God's time. God will reveal why, what, when, where, whatever the case may
Right.
be. It's just you got to have a willing heart, And so one thing about me, like I noticed, I don't look at things no more as a rejection.
Right.
I look at things as, okay, God has a bigger door for me. It's God's protection, right? So, like, I'll say it, like, I really thought I was gonna get that Mendota job, right? And they gave it
Right.
to your son,
Right.
and I really meant when I told you, like, if he ever needed help with anything, you always could reach out to me
Right.
or him, and I'm willing to help. I've been blessed to have all these connections, but I showed you my schedule,
Right. Yeah.
and it's like I'm loaded up with
Yeah.
podcasts,
Yeah.
right?
God gave you a different window, man.
Yeah, no,
Door.
he really did. But see, the beauty of it is, look, I'm meeting you today. I mean, really for the first time, if you really think about it, and we've come across each other all these years, and it's kind of beautiful to kind of see and really get to meet you, know you, and then all these things. But tying back into your son, I feel like when people hear you talk about it and they see what you're going through or what you
Right.
had to go through, you're gonna help so many people, coach.
Right. Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, what do we talk about? You truly don't know what someone is going through.
Exactly.
You don't know behind closed doors of what they're
Right.
battling, right? And when I'm gonna clarify some things. When I tell people it's not about religion, it's about relationship, right?
Right.
I don't mean don't go to church.
Right.
I'm not saying that. I'm saying that, like we said this, if you go to church every Sunday, right? But you're living however you want Monday through Saturday, you're not going to go to heaven,
Yeah.
unless you truly given your life to the Lord, right? And I mean, that's a whole nother debate and that's a
Right.
whole nother conversation.
Yeah.
But what I'm trying to say is, what I just mean is when you have to have a relationship, just know God,
Right.
and you'll know your purpose. You found your purpose, coaching,
Right.
right? And you're giving back.
It's a God gift. It was a God gift.
And the thing is, like, addiction is something that, one, we can't see.
Mm-hmm.
You truly can't see. Like, I feel like you're a smart man. You've coached. You know people. You know kids. Especially your own.
Right.
And for you to say, "Oh, I didn't know he was doing that." I mean, that can tell you the power of addiction,
Right.
because they are going to hide.
Right.
And I look at it like, I need to understand this, and I go into prayer every day. Like, I told you, I think I'll be like you as a father. I think if one of my kids ever did get into an addiction, I just can't. I don't care how bad they get in it. Like, they could always have knowing that I'm always going to be here, right? And I think that ties into, like, when you really get to know God.
Right.
God is love. Like, He's gonna always be there for you, And I think in time, it kind of just, and it takes time. You can't ever say, like, as far as, I'm gonna be honest with you, because this happened. Like, how long has it happened now?
I'll say about 3 years ago, maybe.
3 years ago. So, I mean, have you felt like the difference? Have you changed in the 3 years for you? Or do you feel like it's
yeah. You're always gonna have that empty hole in your heart, when you lose, a loved one like that. Especially if your own son.
That was your first too, right?
Yeah, that's my first.
Yeah. So, I mean, I could just honestly, as a father, I feel for you. One, and I can't ever say I know what you're going through.
Right.
I don't, but I can tell you this, like, my parents, I went through addiction through my parents, right? And not having my mom around for 20 plus years, so I can tell you what loss feels like.
Yeah.
Exactly. Maybe not the death, but I
Right.
could tell you what loss feels like.
Exactly.
That's a hole that a mother's love, as a little boy growing up, when you were a mama's boy, like, it's tough.
Yeah.
It's tough to talk about. It's tough to understand.
And it's out there.
And it's out there. And then people are battling through it. And I feel like this podcast is something bigger that they're going to really understand when they see it. And they're going to be like, oh, wow, like, that's Coach Valenzuela. He's going through this.
Yeah.
I would have never known that, or I would have never known this. Or Louis talking about his mom 20 years, like, people look at me like, I didn't know that. Like, well, sometimes it's not for you to know. Like, we're private, a lot of us, especially as Mendota men, right? What did we say? What did we talk about earlier? Mendota pride, right? And so sometimes that pride could hurt us, though.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? And when I tell you, like, for me, like, I love bringing on Mendotians. I love bringing on, like, I'm going to bring on hopefully Tony and Chris, and we'll talk about that. We brought you on now, right? We brought on Tony and Carlos. I want to bring on hopefully Coach Mejia one day. We're doing things, we're trying to get people out here, and same thing with Farball, like Central Valley talent. And I want people to understand, like, it wasn't my calling to go. What I thought was going to be my calling to go teach, maybe my calling is to do this and to give back to these kids that want to have a voice.
Exactly.
Want to do a podcast, right? And the beauty of it is, like, now meeting you, having connections with you. I did not know that you offered the hitting and everything you kind of shared with me. And I was like, wow, that's really amazing, And just kind of going forward, just know, like, you always, and Coach, if you ever just want to, and I'll pick your brain, the wisdom from you, just in general, because I have a 6-year-old. We both have, I know it's your grandson, but they're going to kind of rise. And I was telling you, I hope that later on when she's ready and she's playing softball, I hope you're still coaching, because guess what? We have a someone to go to now.
That's funny. You're talking about Chris Marcus. That's what he calls me. He calls me the guru of baseball.
Yeah, no, I mean, 45 years, Coach. That's something that a lot of people they don't have. Like, okay, I put this jersey in the background on purpose. Do you remember that jersey?
Yeah, oh yeah.
And so, I mean, that was old school, right? And so they look at it as you've been through the eras. You literally said you coached Coach Clark.
Coach Clark.
And look at him. He's a legend. He's been out there for years. I remember him being my junior high coach. Yeah. And he won a Valley title at Tranquility. Mm-hmm. And I remember he come and he would knock on the when we weren't paying attention or something, he'd be like, work hard enough and you get one of these. And it's like,
and he won one in Mendota.
Yeah, no, but I mean, this is back when I was junior high, so
that's when he had the Mercado brothers and all that.
And Tranquility, right? Yeah, he won one over there. So he would always tell us, and we'd be like, coming up, like, we always, the one thing about Mendota teams is we always had talent, and then we could never translate it when we got to high school. And then after a while, then you guys became a powerhouse, you know. And I'm talking like almost every sport.
Yeah, baseball back then was real good, man.
Yeah,
baseball.
Yeah, I mean, you guys went back to back.
We went back baseball, but I'm talking about the Little League.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my God, the Babe Ruth.
Oh,
they were undefeated for a lot of years.
Yeah,
Babe Ruth.
And then remember back then too, like we would have it like it would be like Smitty's.
Oh yeah,
Martinez Drive-In, you know, Taco Guaymas, you know,
the Lions.
Yeah,
I used to coach the Lions.
Yeah, remember? And those are like, to me, those are the best days. Like we would go out there on the field, and it was like genuine competition, you know, like and fun, like friendly, but we were like going at it. And I remember that. Oh, speaking of the Martinez's, you know, Mike and Rick.
Yeah,
I think they coached the Little Raiders.
The Little Raiders.
And I remember I was a Raider fan, and I wanted to be so bad on that team. And then my grandpa Chuco was like, "No, we got to be on Taco Guaymas." And I was like, "But we're not good."
That's a Luos.
You know?
Luos. Yeah.
And then he was like, "No, Mio, we get free tacos." You know? He's like, "Just trust me." So I remember like the last year I was crying. Well, I was a Raider fan one, and all my friends played on them, right? So I was like, I want to play on the Raiders. And then I remember if it was Chewy was telling my grandpa, or Marcos. Chewy was the coach. He's like,
Chewy Hernandez.
Yeah, remember? And so Marcos was like, "I promise you, we're gonna recruit some kids, and we'll be a little bit better." And we think we took third my last year, but we were never. The Raiders were stacked, you know. And Sorensen was good too, you know.
That was John Ochoa.
So you know, and
back in those days, right?
Yeah, no, I mean, I played too, but I'm just saying, I remember like those were when you talk about competition and
Foot Center,
and then when we combined each other as all-stars, then we're really going out there and giving it to teams, you know. And it's like the thing is, we just never let it translate to high school because being in Mendota, right? And unfortunately, speaking of addiction, you start running with the wrong crowd.
Yeah.
You start hanging out these little, you know, and that's one thing I had said, like with me now kind of going forward and wanting to help the youth, like I want to make sure that we're aware, you know, these kids can fall real fast, go to a high school party, you know, and now with, you know, when I was growing up, it wasn't the way it is now. Like, but like we have fentanyl, you know, and that's a drug that can take you like snap of a finger. And I try to stress it to my son, like, like you said, I tell him, you probably think you could hide stuff from me. You know, maybe you can get away with certain things, but Dad knows mostly like everything. But I go, the one thing I can't bring you back is if you take something and you pass. I can't, you know, how am I going to yell at you if you're not here no more? You know? And so don't ever feel if you make a mistake, you know. And I feel like just stressing that to my son, but really just stressing out to the youth, like, I want to be someone that helps out my community, just in general, being someone and not no judgment. Remember, we're talking about how I could see like a homeless person.
Right.
I don't know the steps they take.
You know, you could have been a great person. You know,
could still be. Yeah. Right. And we don't know that. But addiction is something where it's not easy. Yeah. You know, and it's hard to go through. And I think it's in God's timing when He kind of allows us to heal and like I said, just
you know, like my son for maybe about a year, 2 years, he was straight on the Bible, man. He went to church every Sunday. I mean, he was straight with the Bibles. I mean, he was trying to find the Lord for 2 years. That's how strong the addiction is. Yeah, no, it really is. And like I tell people, like when the enemy attacks you and he comes for you, if you you know, even now, like I was telling you today, remember I was like, I'm thinking about going back to work. Like I'm thinking about getting a job because, you know, unfortunately, the world runs through money, you know, and you know, bills and stuff start adding up. And I say, well, if I have true faith in the Lord, like it'll work out, work its way out. But in a fairy tale world, that is not how life is sometimes, you know. It's not, well, you need more than faith, you know. But I feel like I kind of answered my own prayer. I kind of answered my own question today. It's like, no, well, I have to stand on it. I have to continue to do this, right? And in time, it'll work out. And I looked at it. It always does.
And I kind of like, I looked at it like I yesterday, I interviewed a boxer who's the next guy. And I never watched boxing, right? And my wife was like, that's why it comes with a good woman, right? Us men, as we're making our come up, the woman, and this is what I tried to tell the youngster yesterday. I go, he's 20 years old. I go, the woman is either going to make you or she's going to break you, bro, depending on if you pick the wrong one, right? And I was like, you being this young and you being this focused, just make sure that you use that discernment that God gives you, because she's going to come in a form that you're going to think you like, but it could be bad for you in the end. It could throw you off of your goals, your whatever, right? And so back to my wife, being blessed that I have her, she's like, no, do the podcast. Like, go with what you said. Right. You know, and it's like, that reminder made me think like, wow. Because I was already, like I told you this morning, I was like, I think I'm going to make a couple phone calls, and I had to go back and to work.
Right.
But
Yeah.
then I want to be allowed to focus. Like I was telling you, I wouldn't have been able to go to Hollister yesterday. I wouldn't be able to do this podcast today and I feel like in time, God's time,
Yeah.
back to Isaiah 60:22,
Mhm.
when the time is right, the Lord will make it happen.
Yeah.
But I mean, no, thank you. I mean, it's kind of been. I know that we talked about your coaching career,
Right.
but let's talk a little bit about just now. You obviously you have your other children, right?
Right.
And but we know you coach, but what did you do? Like, now are you retired now? I'm
I'm
assuming
retired.
now.
I'm just
What?
home doing a lot of honeydews.
Yeah. Oh, I know
Working,
those.
work in my backyard, front yard, and take Juju to school, and then
Yes.
go pick them up, and then take them to football practice.
But what did you used to do before, like for work, before you retired?
As a matter of fact, I used to be a cotton warehouse manager.
Okay.
And then I worked at a place called St. Clair where we build machines that put stickers on fruits.
Okay.
And then I worked for Tomatech for about 2 years, and then I said, that's it, retire. I'm
Done.
that age, done.
And now you just get to be grandpa
Got to be grandpa
and coach still.
And look at this. Now I have a lot of time coaching.
That's
A lot of time coaching now. That's why I just love coaching, And if somebody, hey, Coach Paul, can you work on my pitching? Can you work on my hitting? Okay, I'll meet you at the field. But here's one thing: when I used to give hitting lessons, I would make sure they bring their parents, because I'm telling you why. I'm actually teaching the parents, because I'm not going to be there at the ball games or the other practices. So I used to teach the parents.
This is what you're looking for.
Yeah. So it's not me teaching the kid; it's the parents. Make sure they're doing the right fundamentals, things like that. Because I break it down from the ankles to the knees to the hips to, and like you said, hitting's so simple. There's so many gadgets out there nowadays. I just scratch my head and I just look at them. There's not a hitting coaches saying, hey, do it this way, do it that way. We're all built different. My thing is, and I told this to Tony when I was giving hit lessons: balance, timing, and balance. And he looked at me. Think about it. When somebody hits, balance, timing, and after they finish, balance. That's what I tell them. I say, you know what? I'm going to teach you how to be a good hitter. How? See the ball, hit the ball. That's it. But they make it so technical nowadays, man. I look at TikTok videos, go, oh my gosh, what are they doing? No.
Well,
I keep it simple.
Look what I told you before we came on. I remember I told my little boy, if you can't see it, you can't hit it.
You can't hit it. Exactly.
See, so it's like, but I can't, the way you probably see it, I can't break it down like that. I could only come from them as a hitter.
Right.
Like I said, growing up, I felt like I was never the best player, but I was a good player. And then once I learned how to really hit, that's when baseball got super fun for me, but it
Did you work? Did you put the work?
I mean, we did. We had to, you had to work.
You know what? Have you ever seen all the hitting styles they have nowadays? Different batting stances. Okay, they've done that since they were kids. Okay, boom, boom, boom. Yeah, it's going to work because you put all that work into it. But you get these high school kids, they see, somebody going up there with a batting stance and they want to copy it. They go, son, it's not going to work.
Yeah.
Because they've been doing it since a kid. You got to stick what you've been doing as a kid. That is a problem nowadays. They want to copy major league hitters.
Yeah. No, you're right. It's about, like I said, a lot of, because that's who's doing it now. And that's what's cool. And that's
And they're probably God gift too.
No, you're right.
Like I was saying, when I was talking about that God gift.
Yeah, that God-given talent.
Those God gifts are the ones probably going to be able to play that Major League Baseball or, professional football. It's a God gift. But then they put that work into it to make it a greater God gift.
Yes.
There's talent. You know what I'm trying to say? There's different stages.
Yes. No, you're right.
And you're going to get a kid that has a heart, but just does not have the talent.
Yeah.
There's nothing much you could do about that. Just try to get him to the next level.
Kind of the same thing like with size, right?
Exactly.
That's God-given. Either you're going to have it or not.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, that's why we put my grandson, in all these sports. I'm going to, me, I want him to do baseball course,
Yeah, for sure.
For football, he's small, So we're going to try wrestling next. When winter comes up, we're going to put him in wrestling.
Ooh.
I'm going to be one of those coaches I'm going to let him find his
niche.
His strong point.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Because wrestling could probably be really good for him because he's a small guy.
Yeah, and he's got a temper.
Yeah, and then he's got that aggressive rage in him, right? So we can be controlled now.
Exactly.
Yeah,
and that's the main thing. That's what I'm hoping for, to control him.
Yeah.
When I see him swinging and kicking over there in that Money in My Game, I said, oh my gosh, I got something here. We're going to have to change that style there.
Yeah. And then same thing too, the one thing about us, like growing up, was basketball was during wrestling season.
Right, yeah.
So either you got to pick one.
Yeah, exactly.
And so I look at it like when I did the 2 years of freestyle, I did not like the work ethic was too much for me, especially being a lazy athlete, you know. And you can't be a lazy wrestler.
No.
It's not gonna. You're not. You know, it will. You'll see it right away. Same thing. But in basketball, you can be semi lazy, but then don't expect to play because you got to play defense.
Well, these coaches nowadays, they're not going to let you get lazy.
Yeah.
You know, like the Bethel Mejias, the Alan Clarks, those kind of coaches like that. No, they're not going to let you get lazy.
Yeah. No, that's good though. It's always good to, because when the kid can come in and think they could dictate, or it's, you know, because I'm gonna be honest, I'm only speaking for me as a teenager, right? You just think you're God's gift to whatever you're playing, right? And you know, oh well, they need me, and they no, you know, if it's not, unless it's wrestling where it's individual, or you know, what's the other one we said? Boxing where it's individual,
Right.
Baseball you need 9, football you need 11, right? And baseball, softball, you need 9. You know, you have to play basketball. You need 5.
You know, that's a good point what you said there, because when my son was playing Little League, okay, me as a father, dad, coach, gotta make my son, you know, the great. No, it don't work that way. What I did is got a bunch of kids around him, like the Fredo Murataya, Wilmer Cervantes, all those kind of kids, and I carried them from Babe Ruth. Then we played American Legion. And I kept that group as a whole. And look at that. We won back-to-back Valley titles.
Yeah.
So I was smart. It goes, it does not do me good. Like you said, you need 9.
Yeah.
To just work on my son. So what I used to do, I used to get all those kids together, take them to my house. After practice, we used to go to my house for hitting lessons. Yeah. And then they go swimming in a pool. I used to have an aside, you know, those crazy kids. But I got smart. I go, you know what? I'm going to build the people around him. And which it worked.
That's kind of crazy. That reminds me of my grandfather.
Yeah.
So like when, at least not now with the hidden lessons and stuff, but when we used to play Babe Ruth or we used to play Little League, every time, and my grandma, she would always kind of, at first she would get a little upset, but my grandpa would be like, no, you know, they just won, they did good. So we'd come back to the house and we had the doughboy out there. Right?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And so we'd all swim. And he'd make us hot dogs and hamburgers and just hang out and just watch us. But it kept us close.
Yeah, yeah.
So when we got to high school, we all already knew each other.
Yes,
you know, we all grew up, and I felt like, you know, that was the one thing that I kind of, as I gotten older, like that's what you miss. You know, kids are not going to forget. No, they're going to remember that. Yeah. You know, and it kind of I mean, that reminds me, like I said, brings me back to my memory. So that's kind of good, because I mean, the Fredos and then the Wilmers now, and your boy, like, they're gonna go and they're gonna push that to when they coach, or you know, whoever, whatever they do, they're gonna push that. They're gonna remember that, you know. And I look at it like it makes you just so much closer, you know. And being a small town, that's we have to, you know, back one another, right? Yeah,
I lost some good coaches. Kiko Rojas, you know, I coached with him 20 years in varsity softball, and then also Alfredo Murataya. Yeah, he used to coach. We used to coach Little League together. And we also coached softball together. I lost him as coaching, you know. Yeah. They passed away. Yeah. So, you know.
I remember you had the Rojas. I remember him when I was in high school. That was your assistant, right?
Rojas.
No, I mean, sorry. The guy you just mentioned.
Alfredo.
Before Fredo.
Fredo, oh my gosh.
You just mentioned it right now.
Did I really?
He was your assistant in
Kiko Rojas. Yeah. I'm sorry. Yeah, Kiko Rojas.
That was your assistant when I was in high school.
Yeah.
I remember.
Yeah. He was there over 20-something years.
Yeah, I remember him being your assistant. Yeah. And I remember Fredo growing up, you know, him always coaching Cobras, and I remember him coaching.
Yeah, we coached together, Cobras, yeah.
And I remember we went against them. And I remember one time he had told me, I was pitching, he had mentioned, hey, you got to watch he was like, even though I shouldn't tell you, we could get you a balk, but watch your footwork.
Oh, okay.
And so you remember that because you were like, remember, it's friendly competition. Right. At the end of the day, you guys are prepping us to be Mendota.
Right.
And eventually Mendota's going to go against other schools. And so I remember hearing that, going off of those coaches, and I remember taking that with Farball. Right. So like when we would play and I was coaching, I was just telling Mike the other day, like when we played our first game, we played against DJ Garcia.
Okay, DJ.
And DJ beat us. And I remember him like just pumped up. And I told Tito Verduzco, I was like, we can't lose another game against that. But it was like friendly, you know. And I told our boys, like, I mean, obviously we didn't end up losing the rest of the season to them, but it was the fact that he brought that out, and he's from Mendota.
Yeah,
you know?
I coached 1 year with DJ, varsity baseball.
You know, so shout out DJ, and it was kind of like crazy because I was telling Mike, I learned at that moment, like, it's not about the game itself in the city, because we're prepping these kids to eventually go play against the other cities, right? And so I was like, no, thank you, bro. You ignited this fire in us now. So now I tell the kids, hey, how did that feel? Well, not good. Like, So now we got to work extra hard at practice.
Right.
We got to do this. We got to go over the little drills. When you guys are joking around right here, we start being serious. Now we're not going to lose by a run. Or now we're paying attention on the base pads. Now you listen to coach, right? When we're telling you guys these things, now we're, us by losing by this run or us being this close, maybe next time we go over the hump. We go over the hill now,
Yeah.
And it's little things. And I remember that, like, I think the coaches back then, it was friendly competition, but they were preparing us really for the bigger picture,
Right. Yeah.
And I look at it now, like, speaking of like the leagues we do, like the basketball leagues, right? I remember one time taking my boy, because Tito Verduzco still took his sons to Mendota to the leagues, right? And my son was right there. And I had a buddy come up. I won't say his name, but he comes up to him. He's like, "Hey, what are you doing from here? You're from Fireball, bro." And he looks at him like, all scared. And he starts like, I'm just joking. Boom, boom, boom. He's like, hey, no, but he like threw a little friendly jab at him. But hey, no, for real, Mendoza's going to get you this year. But, I'll still go root for you because, your dad. And he looks at me, and then we're in the game. Parents are going crazy, They're getting,
it's that rivalry.
And so, no, they're just playing each other, though. Remember, this is the Mendota League.
Right.
But my boy's just there watching it. And he's like, I go, okay, you see how the parents are here against each other? How do you think they are when they're going to go play you guys? I go, so that's what I'm saying. That's why Mendota's a little different, bro. Look how they are with each other. I was like, but it's all love.
Right. Yeah.
I go, but in the game, when the time starts, it's game time. You got to go out there and perform.
Yeah, as long as you leave it on the field.
Or the court or whatever, right?
Better on the stands. Yeah.
And then that's what I feel like that's how it is and it was. And I'm glad to see that it's still continuing.
Oh, yeah.
Because, and I feel like that's honestly, I mean, no knock to anybody. I think that's the difference with Mendota, is that they still got that. The coaches are still kind of teaching them the way we grew up.
A little bit of the old school.
And the old school kind of shows like these newer, kids that are, and I say, I don't mean it like, oh, they're softer. I just meant like, we had no choice, Paul.
Right.
We had to go out and play, coach. Like we had to go and ride our bikes.
Right.
Go play sports because we didn't have technology yet. I think cell phones hit when I was like a senior in high school, like 06, like when it kind of got popular. Yeah, we had the PlayStations, but everything was so connected. Like I don't know. Like I remember, like parents would, get out of your room already. Go play.
Yep.
And it's like you knew that. For me, growing up as a kid, I remember my grandma would do this whistle, and so we would, there was no homes back. Now Bunny Heights is full of homes.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
But remember back then, it used to be all fields.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember the owner of J&L, he used to have the
Larry Really.
Yeah, he used to hit golf balls.
Mm-hmm.
Beep, right? And he would tell us one day, he was like, "Hey, here, remember back in the 90s, $20 is a lot of money."
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He goes, "I'm gonna give you $20. He get this bucket and go fill, go get on my golf balls." And we would do it for him, give us $20, right? And I tell the kids now, like, that's something you guys don't do no more. Like, they don't go to the park and play over here. I think Mendota they still go and play at that the Rojas, right?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. And here, I can't speak it too much because I just mean like I don't see them doing what we used to do in Mendota, at least growing up as far. But I think I'm not blaming it. It's because this is how Farbo is. I know kids my age, or not kids, men my age, they played at the park here. They did their thing, but it's the fact that the technology has really taken over.
Exactly.
And these kids are gamers. But look at podcasting is something now where it's a career.
Right.
And I think to the older generations, like, what do you mean that you're a podcaster? Like, well, this is what I do.
Right.
In reality, it's kind of just we have conversation.
You're putting information out there.
Putting information out there. But no, I mean, that's kind of great. Thank you for breaking it down the way you did, Coach. Is there anything else you kind of want to touch on before we?
No, everything's great. Like I said, you're gonna have Tony and Chris coming up pretty soon.
Yeah,
that's pretty cool. I like that.
Yeah, they'll come on, and like I said, I'll kind of spill the beans right here. We're gonna do like a Friday Night Lights kind of,
right?
But it's not gonna be what I thought it was gonna be, only because we don't really have as we're kind of growing as a podcast. We're gonna go out and interview different high school teams.
Okay,
but we'll interview them through the week for their practices, and we'll drop it. If we could make the game on Friday, we'll attempt our best. Can't make promises right now just because we got a lot going on. But at least to get the seniors to come on and we'll interview them out there on the field and, what do you expect for the season? What do you got going on? Who are you? Kind of introduce yourself and just that, right?
Right.
And later on, maybe we'll get them. Maybe as like the garage grows and we make it to Podcast Central, maybe years we can bring in the team and sit down and conversate with them. Because right now I can only hold, I think 3, because there's 4 mics, but I had 1 mic go down right now.
Right.
So I think I can only hold really 3 people. Let's just say they have 4 seniors. I don't want to knock one out, right? So I don't want to just be only 3. So at least if we go out there, I could interview him as many kids as
Right.
they want. You know, 'cause,
Yeah.
I mean, you're gonna have, like you said, there's those God-given kids that are gonna be freshmen and sophomores and juniors that are studs. But in this case, I want to really highlight the seniors,
Right.
just to kind of give them their flowers. Because I mean, most kids don't. They're really great, but sometimes they don't play beyond
Right.
high school.
Yeah.
Is all
They go to work, you know.
they go to work,
Yeah.
or just in general. Like some kids go, don't they try to go JC, right? But
Right.
they don't. They see how it is. They get homesick, or maybe they're just not. It's not what they like, you know. Because as you kind of grow into it with sports right now, it's fun.
Yeah.
You know, that's the goal, right? You go out with your coach, you learn, you hit, you win, but it's competition.
Yeah.
College, it gets a little different because say you're the big dog in Dota,
Yeah.
you're the big dog in Fireball. Well, now you go to the JC, there's a bunch of you.
You're a little fish in
You're
the
a little
ocean.
fish in a big, and a big sea.
Yes.
You know? And so I feel like people have to just really, adjust, back to that whole adversity and consistency and, hard work. But it's so I don't know if they're gonna ever play again, but at least maybe one day they could be like, hey, I was on that podcast, or that guy came out here. And it's just kind of cool to it makes, and I want it to where it builds something for the kids to look forward to.
Right.
It's like every year they're gonna be like, hey, maybe he's gonna come interview us and get your chance. Because I remember being a shy kid. Like, even though people were like, you never stop talking, but I had to know you to talk to you.
Right.
I wasn't just gonna go talk to you, And now it's a little different as a podcaster or an influencer. You gotta be open to everybody.
Exactly. Yeah.
I remember the other day kind of going and thinking like, I don't want to tell nobody good morning. Just want to go take my daughter to school and go home. But then the Lord revealed to me like, well, then how do you want me to make you a podcaster? How do you want me to make you an influencer? Like, no, you gotta say good morning. You gotta be,
because you don't know who's listening.
You don't know who's listening, right? And same thing with like, I know when I talk to like we do our Bible studies, people are like, well, you don't know. They're watching. They want to see if that you're real. If that's really real,
Right.
And I look at it like, well, if you look at it that way, yeah, you're right. Because I try to be what I am off camera that I am on camera.
Right.
It doesn't. I don't try to change it. That's who I am. But no, yeah. I want to thank you, Coach, for coming on.
No problem.
This could be like a part one. Like I said, we can watch it.
Yeah.
Go over it again, then maybe you could think of like, I didn't talk about this, or on this, and I remember, because I mean, there's a lot of coaching in.
I used to do travel ball. I was a coach in travel ball. The big teams out of Fresno Forest, the Fresno Heat. I've been around that travel ball stuff too, and baseball. Oh yeah.
So and see, we could probably touch on that next time, or however you want to go, and then maybe even you being the softball coach. If you want to bring on some of your seniors.
Oh, yeah.
You could talk about that. We can go out there and see you. And like I said, we really want to highlight Central Valley talent, but specifically like me, my heart's in Mendota, here in Fireball. Like I want to make sure I'm giving these, these programs and especially girls sports, because
there's a lot of talent here in county.
There really is.
We've been winning the softball All-Stars, the State County All-Stars.
Okay. Yes, and then maybe you can, like I said, now that we kind of talking, you can kind of school me up, because like I said, I got a little 6-year-old. I'm pretty sure, I know she's gonna have to do something eventually. Exactly. I want her to get into some type of sports, right? And I took her to the wrestling camp the other day in Mendota.
Oh, really? Okay.
And me and my wife were like, "Hey," and she's like, "No, thank you," but she's still small. But in time, right? I mean, I don't know. I think for me, Coach Junior Ray is being the girls coach out there. I mean, I told him too, like, hey, be prepared. I'm going to give you Gia. Same thing with you, Coach. Be prepared. I want her to be ready. And I'm gonna be honest. I say it now. Like, if my schedule allows and the Lord blesses me and I'm able to do it, I wouldn't mind taking the drive if I had to take her to school there.
Yeah.
Lou was different because he had been here since he was a little boy.
Right.
And he knew all his friends. He was already going to be a sophomore in high school.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
It was a little different for him, right? I think, when there was a possibility of going to Mendota, like I didn't really know this until the end. Mm-hmm. He was like stressed out.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because he's like, I didn't want to go. It's like, oh, I get it. And see, the Lord answers in different time, right?
So he's by,
he's super relaxed. You could see it. I felt like all summer long, I was like, what's up with this guy? And then it finally came to light. He's like, oh, I could stay, because remember, he just walks to school,
right? Yeah.
Back then it would have been a whole different mission, especially if he would have got into sports too. And like I said, I think when me realizing if I would end up getting a teaching position, remember I was trying to tell you, like,
right,
I would love to coach, but right now I don't feel like it's for me. Right. And then with the podcast, all my extra time goes to that,
right?
Especially if we have a job, right? So that's why I'm saying in time, just trust the Lord. it'll work
Like
out.
there's a reason why.
There's always a reason why.
Reason
Yeah, and
why.
I think everyone's always searching for that.
Yeah.
Right? And I think in time when
If you don't search, you're never going to find.
That's so true. Yeah, no, but thank you once again, Coach. Like I said, we will definitely do a part 2, and people will get
put a lot of things, write a lot of things down.
And then when like I said, when we edit it, I'll make sure you see it first, and you kind of can go over it, and then what you don't like, or what you do like, or what you want to add, or you don't want to add. Same thing when we bring on Tony and Chris the first time. Then maybe what we can do later is bring Tony, Chris, and you on.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
And you guys can kind of chop it up, because you can have I guess you can say the old school generation coming with the new.
Yeah.
And then we can kind of talk about coaching, and then kind of go from there, right? And then I think it could be a really good conversation.
That's what me and my son used to argue about. Mommy's old school, new school.
Yeah.
I go, baseball has not changed. It's not going to change, And
then what would you say? Did you say he picked up more of your traits when he was?
At the beginning, he did. And then when he played college ball, he played at Gavilan and he played Friends Pacific, and he went new school. New school, I'm talking about the alligator when you're receiving ball.
Yes.
I'm tortilla,
Oh,
you see on
yeah.
There's the alligator and there's tortilla when you feel the ball this way.
See? And I think,
alligator.
Yeah. I think next time, maybe like you breaking that down right now, I bet you people are like, bro, I already know that. You should have kept going. But we're already kind of like, no, we did our part 1.
Right.
For part 2, we can kind of maybe break down more of, like you said, specifics, new versus old. And I think now, it just kind of hit me. We'll bring Tony and Chris on with you. And so like we got the new versus the old, and kind of like you can see, because we can say, well, what do you think, Tony? Being the head varsity coach, and how do you do this? And versus, hey, coach, what do you think? And then and it's not necessarily a right or wrong answer.
Right. Yeah.
It's just more like philosophies, right? And just different the way you guys approach.
Right.
And your approach is going to be super different than obviously them being really younger than you, right? But at the same time, you've been around it now.
Yeah.
So I feel like when that comes wisdom, that comes experience.
Yeah.
Because you can be like, no, Louis, like Tony or whoever, Chris, I've seen this. I've been around it. I know it works because I trust me, and you're like, okay, I got you, And I feel like I've always been that kind of guy, like, well, I got to see it.
Right.
I'm a hands-on learner. Like, I'm a visual learner.
Right.
In time, like I said, I've learned to, okay, obviously he's been around, and he knows. And then, like you said, with hitting, it's something that we overthink.
Right, exactly.
But at the end of the day, with hitting, it just comes where you have to see the ball.
Yeah.
It comes down with eyesight, right?
And like I said, there's too much gimmicks out there. My gosh, what? No.
Yeah. Now, thank you, Coach, once again. We'll end it right here. So, like, we started the Bible verse with Psalms 51, verse 10 and 11. Create in me a clean heart, O God. Renew a loyal spirit within me. Do not banish me from your presence, and don't take your Holy Spirit from me. Psalms 51, 10 verses 11. And with that being said, I want to thank you once again, Coach, for coming on for part 1, and then we'll look forward to part 2.
No problem.
All righty.
I'll start taking notes.